Hey Autumn, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm pretty good. Did you have training today?
Um, no, I work nights on weekends, so I just woke up and I'm gonna go work out here in a few.
Awesome, awesome. So what does a normal training regimen look like for you, like a normal day of training?
I'd say wake up like around 6, eat some breakfast, go to strength and conditioning. Usually get like a big long run in. Then practice in the afternoon, a couple hours, and then get some good sleep and got a good system going down.
Awesome. Sleep's super, super important.
Yeah.
I I know from experience.
Yeah, it's my
Uh,
favorite thing, so
yeah, me it's on my list of favorite things too. So um yeah, so upcoming bout in Colorado. Obviously you're in California currently, so there's a bit of an altitude difference. Have you, thought much about that, or have you ever been to Colorado? Do you know what the air's like there?
I haven't been like out in Colorado. I've been like to the airport and stuff, but
Mhm.
I grew up in high altitude. I work in Reno, which is in really high altitude, and I train here as well. So I don't really pay attention to the high altitude thing. I'm running up to like 10 miles at a time right now, so cardio won't be an issue.
Okay, that's awesome to hear. Having a look at your record, obviously you've got two professional fights and you're fighting against somebody that also has two professional fights, but your amateur record is like really the who's who of you've got the armbar win over Amber Leibrock, who's also on the card. Do you think that amateur experience, I personally think that whenever, I see a fighter and they've got a whole lot of amateur experience, it's usually, a good sign. Uh, you're obvious. So how do you think your, amateur experience is going to help you in this?
Yeah, I think amateurs are like the amateur fighting. It's really important to get in before you turn pro, and I definitely had my fair share. It says 6-2, but I had a Muay Thai fight and I won that as well. Yeah, I think just get as much experience as you can before turning pro because once you turn pro, you can't go back. And I'm thankful for all that time. And yeah, I definitely have fought kind of the who's who. Uh, a few names who, I'm not going to say like big names, but because we're all none of us are big yet. But I've had some tough competition and I beat some tough competition. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. You mentioned the Muay Thai fight. Would you say Muay Thai is your favorite discipline to train, or are you more of a rolling around on the ground during training?
Depends on how I'm feeling that day. If I don't feel like getting hit in the face, I usually will, try to grind it out. But for the most part, I like striking. It's just more fun. I feel like I can be myself and have fun with it. So once you're feeling like when I'm having fun in a fight, that's when I'm at my best. You know what I mean? But
Mm.
not to say that when I'm on the ground, I'm not having fun either because my last fight was basically all on the ground and it was a dominant win. Wherever it goes, I just love fighting all around. And, I don't like to say, oh, I'm a grappler, oh, I'm a striker, I'm a mixed martial artist, period.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've done jujitsu and karate as a kid, and then I've been recently getting kind of falling in love with my hands a little bit, but I'm
Nice.
desperate to get back to the jujitsu. So,
Yeah.
do you have any favorite submissions to drill?
Um, hmm. I've been, I don't know. I think I hit somebody with like a few darces recently, and it's been because I have short arms and like it doesn't normally work for me. And so, it's kind of surprised when you get it. But yeah, I don't know. Lately, it's been kind of fun to play with.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm partial to the triangle myself. So Invicta uses open scoring, and were they using it whenever your first two fights with the promotion went down?
During my second fight, they were.
Okay, yeah, because your first was a split decision, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So I'm personally against open scoring for a variety of reasons, but that's not to say that I'm not strongly in favor of a much more um, uh, in favor of much more accountability in judging. I feel that there should perhaps be, three teams of judges, one team cage side and two in the back. That's my personal thought experiment. But in that split decision loss, do you think if you had have had open scoring and if you knew you were down 2 rounds, or if you knew you were down 2 rounds on two judges' scorecards, do you think it would have helped, or do you think it was what it was?
No, I think it was what it was. I'm not the type to sit here and make excuses and say, "Oh, if I did this or if I did that." Of course, I made some technical, I made some technical mistakes. She was a great grappler, and she was the better woman that night. So all I could do was just pick myself back up, get back in the gym, and take a fight. What, like a month, 2 months later? So
Yeah, and that second one was obviously pretty short notice. But you've had a bit of a layoff. Obviously, it was 2009. But COVID and everything else, a lot of people had to put their lives on pause. You feel fresh going into it.
oh yeah, I've had couple, like even throughout my amateur career, I had a couple long terms where I didn't fight for a minute, and it never affected me. I think ring rust is all mental, and I made tons of changes in my life and in my training, and I've improved so much on so many things. And now I feel all right. I feel good.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. Am I right in saying that you had a cancelled pro debut with the World Series of Fighting?
That was I don't remember the details of that, but that was a really long time ago. I don't think it was a pro debut. I think World Series of Fighting just came out with like they had the amateur circuit going on, and I
Hmm.
I was young. I think I was only like 19 at the time or something. But I ended up leaving my gym, and so I didn't end up taking that fight. So it was a long
Yeah,
time ago.
yeah, because you continued then as an amateur after that. So I was curious. Um, but yeah, so now that you're with Invicta as an athlete with them, how does it feel fighting for kind of one of the the bigger promotions? Or
It, it feels great. I remember when I was about 17 or so at the time, and I was watching one of the first Invicta shows, and I think it was where Rose Namajunas flying armbarred that girl, and I was like blown away, and I was like, "Oh my god, that is so sick!" And I think I had just started to kind of look into fighting and finding a gym, and I mean, ever since I watched that, I was like, "Dude, I want to do this. I want to be that." And um, I told myself, "Yeah, I will fight for them one day," and like ever since then, it was always like my one of my dreams, and of course I have other dreams, but this is one of the steps. And Invicta is a great opportunity for women. Like what Shannon's done with the company is just amazing. She just gives us this platform, and she like the whole system with Invicta is so smooth. Like you get there and like they just make everything so good for the fighters, and like everything's fast and easy, and they take us into our feelings into consideration a lot, like during the whole process. So it's nice, and it's just an honor to represent Victa. It's a great company.
awesome. You touched on them, really looking after you and listening to you. Is there anything in particular with that have you had any special requests for them?
What was the question? I'm sorry.
Sorry, you mentioned that Invicta really looks after their athletes and takes your feelings into account. Have you had any special requests or any
Uh,
favors
I
that you've had?
think I think just during the when once you get there, they take everyone into consideration that we're all cutting weight, and
Mhm.
they they just make it easy for us. I don't know. That's like and they just make everything smooth, and they make sure they have everything ready. I don't know, they're really good at with communication and stuff, and it's easy, it's nice. And it's hard in the amateurs when you're, struggling to like find, just certain things like transportation, or once you get there. And some promotions are such a mess. Oh my goodness. If you've ever fought in California, number one, any promotion out of California is garbage, let me tell you. And so I don't know. It's nice to step up and get just like an organization going on.
Absolutely. Do you think that's down to the California State Athletic Commission, or do you think that's down to the individual promotions?
I think it's just California in general. Like, there's nothing good about it, so it's just,
Point
it's a
taken.
downhill slope.
Yeah. So you mentioned Rose Namajunas' flying armbar in Invicta. The first time I ever saw a flying armbar, I was actually having it done to me at jiu-jitsu training.
Nice.
There was a classmate of mine that was, a girl that kind of, gave me the nudge to say, "Hey, Jamie, you should come to training. It's really fun." And she'd a year or two of experience on me, and we were grappling really, really early, and she pulls out this flying armbar, and I looked around after I stood up, like, what just happened?
That's
Um, yeah. So, obviously Rose, but is there any other, fighters or athletes that, really gave you the onus to get in there?
Yeah, for sure. I think any female MMA fighter can always bring up Ronda Rousey.
Mhm.
I have a few favorites. Holly Holm is one of my all-time favorites. I think the way she just carries herself, and the way, her attitude, she's very humble, and she's fucking so good. And she, like 21-time world champion kickboxer. It's just, you just got to give her respect. The way she carries herself and the way she performs, it's amazing. And she's getting older now, and she's still good.
Absolutely, 100%. I could have swore that she won that last fight.
Yeah, I think we all thought she won that. And that's like, you brought up the subject earlier of the judges, the judging system. I think it needs to be fixed. A lot of people bring up like they should have like ex-fighters be judges, and I think that would be a great idea.
I used to be very in favor of it, but obviously within MMA, it's kind of hard to find people, and especially ex-fighters, that are in the community that don't have biases. I think one of the big arguments against it is, if you ever listen to, DC commentating, is bias for some of the AKA fighters
For sure.
is is pretty serious. Um, Ronda Rousey, actually, or not Ronda, sorry, Holly Holm, might be fighting Katie Taylor in Dublin,
Or-
and if in boxing, and if that goes down, it'll be in the Irish National Stadium in Croke Park, and I will move heaven and earth to be at that. Um, I remember watching um the Holly Holm Ronda Rousey fight for the first time, and it was just like
Yeah.
bonkers when she hits that head kick.
I
It's
know. Man, I was watching the fights at a casino, and everybody in the room was for Ronda Rousey, and I was the only one for Holly, and everyone's just cheering Ronda on. And like, oh man, the room got so quiet. It got so, and I literally cried that night because I was just like so blown away. I was so happy that Holly won. And I just think Ronda's attitude kind of got sour, and she wasn't never really humble. And of course, you have to have that confidence, but you can't like force that confidence. You know what I mean? Like, it just seemed like it wasn't organic. Her whole attitude leading up and for a while there, but Holly kept it G. Holly was just super humble and just pieced her up just the whole fight. I love watching that fight. I never get tired of watching that fight.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like almost every strike that Holly lands, you can see the toll that it takes on Ronda, not just in her face, but
Yeah.
in her body movements and everything. It's like,
Very frantic and desperate.
yeah, and it was so weird to me the first time I watched it because obviously, Ronda's background is in judo and wrestling and grappling mostly, but then she tries to stand with Holly, and it's like, stop reading
Yeah,
Twitter.
what are you doing? Like, do not do that.
No, absolutely. I had a similar experience whenever Rose knocked out Zhang Wei Li at 261. Um, it was still pretty strict on COVID and stuff, and me and a few friends had um, huddled into one of their apartments to watch it, and everybody said, the USA chants are going, and then the first minute's pretty slow and a feeling out process, and then that head kick lands,
Yeah.
and it just
Clean. She looked really sharp that night.
she was unbelievable. I don't
Yeah,
think there's anybody in the world that night that could have touched Rose Namajunas,
I
which
would agree. Yeah.
obviously, giving her most recent performance is a little bittersweet looking back on it.
Hmm.
I suppose that is a fight like that is a good example, I think, of where open scoring would come in very useful.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. So, uh, do you know much about your opponent? It's Maria Jukic, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I probably butchered it.
Yeah. I don't know how to pronounce it either, but she she's like a pretty fundamental striker. Good shots down the middle. Long. She's tall. I think she's tall. I don't know. She looks kind of tall, but yeah, longer. Um, doesn't move a whole lot. I don't think she has a whole lot of ground game, but I think it'll be a good fight. I think it'll be fun because I know she's gonna want to stand with me. So yeah, cool. I think it'll be a good show for the fans.
Awesome. Knowing that she, may not be as experienced on the ground as you, does that give you a bit of confidence, going into it that wherever the fight goes, you're going to be pretty comfortable?
Yeah, I do agree that wherever the fight is, I'll be pretty comfortable. I'm pretty good at like assessing situations as they go, and a lot of fighters kind of get in their own head during a fight, or like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do that, and they kind of start to shut down a bit. But I feel like the more pressure I feel, the more I shine. So, you know, uh, I'll be all right.
I'm glad to hear it. That's always good to operate well under pressure.
Hmm.
Um, I'm trying to think. Oh, yeah, I gotta ask, what did you think of Israel Adesanya's recent performance last week? Did you see it?
Yeah, I did. I a lot of people are hating on Izzy, but I got to tell you, I love Izzy. I think he's awesome, like all around great fighter. I like his personality, the way he carries himself. I mean, people want to complain about like this and that. Oh, we didn't put on a show. I just don't think he has to. Like, if you want the belt, go get it. Like, he has the belt. He's been the champ for a while, and uh, I mean, he did what he had to do to win. Like, the other dude was a pretty big puncher, so it's like, what do you want him to do? Risk it all and lose the belt, just like what he did with Yoel. And it was kind of the same type of thing, like slow pace, and he was waiting for him. But I mean, it's like, why aren't they talking about the other guy? Like, the dude didn't pressure him, put the pace on enough. Like, it's just, I don't know. It's like, I think he did what he had to do, and like, there's a lot of fighters like that. Look at Floyd Mayweather, the way he kind of developed throughout the years, and he went 50-0.
Yeah.
Um, and people, it's crazy because like the people who have the most to say are the ones who have never stepped foot inside the ring or the octagon. They have no clue what they're saying. All the comments and stuff, and it's like, for a while in my career I would be kind of affected by a lot of it. I was younger, I'm like, oh, this person said this about me, and it's like I just don't even read it now. It's like these people are just like they have no idea what they're talking about. They've never even stepped foot inside of a gym. Like they just don't know. And just sit back and watch the fight. All right, just keep your mouth shut.
Yeah, no, I agree, especially with your points on Jared Cannonier's, performance. He's the bigger guy. He's, more experienced on the ground. I think, especially, coming out into the third round, he's down to put
Yeah.
a bit of gas on there before, Izzy goes three up and you need a finish. You also mentioned, reading stuff online. Uh, do you spend much time on, socials, or do you kind of just ignore it for the most part now? Or, do you like to go on for a little cheeky self-indulgence every now and then?
I'll read I'll watch, I don't know, like funny stuff, like funny interviews, I guess, and stuff. But I pretty much have gotten rid of all of my social media besides Instagram. I used to have Twitter, and Twitter is the worst app. Twitter's gross. It's just the worst thing. Oh God. And so I deleted that a couple years ago, and recently deleted Facebook, and I just have Instagram. It's just more so just to promote my fighting, and
Mhm.
I don't know. I'm just getting older now, and I realize that's just not important to me. Of course, the only reason why I have Instagram is to promote my fighting. So I guess I kind of have to do it. Otherwise, I delete it too. But I don't know. I think just staying off my some social media, I think it's just better that way. I think social media has kind of divided a lot of people these
Mhm.
days, and it's just not healthy to keep up on all that stuff and read all these things that people are saying. It's just not good for you. It's just it's not good. People need to just get off Twitter.
No, absolutely. I completely agree, and I'm the absolute worst person, the biggest hypocrite for saying it. But it's just simply too much information, in my opinion.
Yeah.
We're constantly bombarded with, oh, this fight's announced, he said this, she said that, and it's too much. It's like you're trying to listen to the entire world's gossip all
Yeah,
at once.
exactly.
It's pretty crazy. Um Another fight that I wanted to ask you about was Valentina and Tyler Santos, because obviously that was a little bit of a controversial decision. Do you remember how you scored it the first time you watched it?
Yeah, I watched it live. I thought Tyla won. I thought she won 3 out of 5 rounds. And people want to say she took her back the whole time and she didn't do anything with it. So how would she win? But look at Aljamain Sterling. Like he did the same thing and won. And I definitely think it was close. And but I just don't think Valentina won that one.
Yeah. We have our first disagreement. I
Yeah.
actually honestly thought that Valentina, there was an argument to be made that it was like 4-1 for Valentina. But
Yeah.
I honestly, I watched it like the following morning, and like I remember watching the first round. I was like, okay, that was pretty close. And then I watched the second one. I was like, that was also pretty close.
Yeah.
I thought once you know, especially once the accidental clash of heads happened, Valentina pulled away, and I definitely think that had that not happened, it would have been a very different outcome. But I do see what you mean with the comparison to the Aljo Piotr Jan fight. Was also very, very close. I I remember watching that one live, and whenever they read out the scorecard, I was like, what?
Yeah. I kind of had a feeling he won. Yeah, it was crazy because he shut all those people up, including me, honestly. So props to him.
I have to admit that I was one of Aljo's biggest haters. Whenever he took the illegal knee. But he's grown on me a lot, and I'm looking forward to him fight. I actually think that Aljo versus Alex Volkanovski at 145 is
Mhm.
one of the most technical, high level fights in MMA that could be made currently.
Yeah, that would be a good fight. There's tons of good fights right now. I feel like the more the more time goes on, like the divisions just keep getting like deeper. You know, just more and more talented fighters are rising to the top, and you know, it's crazy. There's tons of big fights to happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anybody in basically 125 to 155 in the UFC is like in the top 15 is just
Yeah.
crazy good. And I genuinely think that anybody in that top 15 could beat anybody else on any given day. Um, so, you know, what are your plans moving forward after your upcoming fight? Do you want to stay active, or you know, do you see yourself fighting again this year?
Yeah, I definitely want to fight again this year. I definitely want to be active. I'm in a way better position to stay busy. Just I have good management, I have great coaches and teammates, and I have a good environment. I'm all about being in a good environment, you know, because I'm the type of person who I can't like flourish if I'm not in the best environment, you know. So uh, I have really good people around me now, and I'm thankful for that. And I'm not looking past Maria, but and I'm not underestimating her, but I got some plans after this fight for sure. I got some ideas coming up.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear it. Are we going to get a highlight call out after?
A call out? I don't know, maybe. It depends on how feisty I'm feeling afterwards, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm glad to hear it. Um, yes, and finally, I'd be absolutely remiss if I didn't ask you about the obviously the next upcoming UFC pay-per-view, Amanda and Pena, the rematch. Do you have any thoughts on that? How do you think it's going to go?
I don't think Amanda was able to turn it on last fight. Juliana's really tough though. She's a tough girl for sure. I think it'll be a better fight. I don't think I can pick a winner. I just think it'll be a better fight than the last one. So I think it could kind of be a coin toss.
Yeah, I'm in a very similar boat. I'm so conflicted on that fight. I genuinely don't think I'll bet on it.
Yeah.
Except maybe that it doesn't go the distance. Um, you know, the first one was such an upset and
Yeah.
was genuinely crazy. Um, but yeah, so I think that's all the questions that I had, and we're just about on time. So
Cool.
thank you so much for your time, Autumn.
Thank you
And
so much.
no, and good luck on your fight. I'll be watching.
Nice.
I'm very tired and rooting very strongly for you. So,
All right. Thank you so much.
perfect. Thanks so much. Bye.